How we doing today? Everyone good?
I'm doing good, brother.
Good here. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great. A little tired, but nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm doing good.
Right on, right on. Well, I want to thank you again, Moon, for opening the space and allowing us to help educate one another on safe ways to invest in the crypto and how we're going to be able to make it as a unit, and definitely I know that there's a lot of people out here that are really really grateful to have this even on the recorded side of it. We're recorded here on X, we're recorded on YouTube, and we're recorded on Spotify now. So that's all really awesome stuff. Shout out to Chris Vegan for all of his help and his plan as well, getting us on these recorded platforms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, soon as we get rolling, we're getting the algorithm on Google with all these different things, and people can Google Jeetos, Dirty Jeetos, and they'll pop up. All the links will pop up. Everything will pop up. So it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm excited.
Yes, sir.
Well, as always, the space is recorded. So I guess we can go ahead and get started because even though there may have been a mishap with the links, this will be here in perpetuity for everybody to listen to. So, welcome to Dirty Jeeto Presents Stick with the Plan. Today we'll be bouncing ideas back and forth about different strategies and how to build a successful community and token. And as always at Dirty Jeeto, we are trying to educate retail investors on how to be smart with their money. Always be aware of your risk level, never invest more than you can afford to lose, and watch out for scams. You can always go back and look at any of our previous spaces for those valuable tools because our goal is to make sure that we make you aware of not losing as much money as you can in this market. It's a scary space out there. And as always, Dirty Jeeto and the community is always there. We are also hosting live educational spaces in our VC now. So pop in anytime, check it out. You may get some trading tips that you can use. And I will now turn it over to the co hosts and to begin the discussion.
Thanks a lot, Moon. So, I want to give another shout out to his plan for putting all these really awesome educational live streams on our VC. I've been tuning in and dropping out at times, but every time I drop in there, man, I'm just picking up more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge, and just it's like another tool, and I'm adding it to the toolbox. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the things that we're hoping to talk about today is obviously you can see the title for our spaces is stick to the plan, stick with the plan. What we're talking about with that is what plan you choose to set, the strategies you choose to use, and continuing to do that. Obviously, if it doesn't work, you're going to want to change up your routine a little bit. But once you find something to work, due diligence, continue with that. Um, before I continue on, I just want to offer the space for anyone that would like to speak upon that.
It's all good, brother. You can continue, man. I'm glad for the opportunity that we can talk about this topic because this is something that I definitely need to be better at, and not just in crypto, but in life, So I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to see how this is gonna flow. Go.
Most definitely, my brother. Most definitely, I appreciate that. Yeah, and just going off of what you said, bro. This is most definitely a topic that is going to help you in crypto and outside of crypto. This is about how your mind is going to affect your ability to trade effectively. Okay, we're going to be talking about eating right. We're going to be talking about getting appropriate amount of rest. We're going to be talking about getting exercise, These kinds of things and how they're going to affect our ability to trade effectively and our ability to think about what trades we're getting into effectively. So generally speaking, of course, Dirty Jeeto's is a Solana meme coin right now. It's in the DGen world, but we don't exclude any other utilities. We're cool with Ethereum and BNB and XRP and all that. And so please feel comfortable using these tools in those trades as well. So I'm going to give you guys an example first, okay? Let's say you got into meme coin trading, and while you were doing your meme coin trading or any kind of crypto trading, you got really caught up in it. You got super, super caught up in it. I'm sure it's happened to a few of us at any time. And you started gaining a lot of good trades and stuff like that. And so you started devoting a lot of time to it. And before you know it, where you were in a good profit, now you're kind of sitting in a deficit and you're wondering why, and it's affecting you mentally. You might have kids and stuff you got to take care of, and you're just like kind of trying to shirk them off to the side because you can't sleep on your bag and you're trying to do all this and that. And you're just, before you know it, you have a clouded judgment. And so, one of the things, and of course, I want to also say, practice what you preach. I'm not going to tell you something in this space or that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. Okay. And I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person. I'm not saying I go to the gym for an hour every single day, 7 days a week before I trade. Okay. Some days, things are a little bit different, but these are just healthful tips that help us get into that place. And so obviously, say let's wake up. Okay, so we're waking up in the morning. First thing I want to do, I want to check on my trades. I want to see where everything's at. I slept for 7 or 8 hours. I had a few bags. I had to sleep on them. First thing I want to do is I want to check on my trades. Stop. Take a breath. Go to the bathroom. Maybe wash your face. And then after you do your little ritual, take a deep breath, get a little bit into a good state of mind. Then go into that platform. Check it out. Okay. Don't spend a lot of time in that place. Just make sure you refresh yourself, see where I'm at. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. Maybe I want to get out of this thing. Maybe I want to put this one on a watch list. Now I'm going to put my phone down. Now I'm going to put my computer away for a moment. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get my blood rate going. I'm going to get my heart rate moving again. Okay. Maybe you go and you get a jump rope. You do a little jump ropes, 1,000 skips. Go to the gym for half an hour. Come back. And now you have all of this oxygen that's come into your body and allowed you to clear out a lot of that stuff that's resistant, distracting you from being able to accomplish the great work. A lot of people that are in this space today are looking at this like a job. And if you're going to look at this like a job, you have to be prepared. Think if you're working a construction job, okay, and you forgot to pack a lunch. By the time lunchtime gets there, all you're going to be thinking is about your stomach. The second half of that day, man, is going to be hard for you. So this is all essentially kind of feeding the spirit, is feeding the mental so that it can help with the physical. All right. Really, really powerful stuff we want to talk about here today. And so that's what I got right now. I'm gonna pass the torch over you to anybody that wants to ask any questions or has anything to comment real quick before we continue.
I just comment like last year when I got into meme coin trading, um, I was losing bag after bag. The whole year was just a bad year. Um, and it was the main reason it was happening is because I was lacking the education. I was lacking what not to do and what to do and how to do it. And so this year I told myself, oh, I'm not going to get you know caught up like I did last year. And I've been doing okay. You know, when I say okay, that means I'm not like losing hefty amounts of money. you know. But yeah, I remember last year I would be up up all night, and wouldn't sleep good. just just because of lack of education, I was just letting my bags just sit there overnight. Didn't know to pull out or do this or take initials and so much and a cloudiness. My mind was cloudy at times, especially at night. I remember one time at night. I remember this one time I thought I just had to get a win before I go to bed. I had to get a win, and I just lost it. I just got lost after lost, you know, it just doesn't feel good, just going to bed just like thinking like, man, this whole day I just gave away this amount of money, you know. So yeah, man.
Yeah, most definitely. I've been talking to different people and different VCs. I'm really big about getting all of our relatives together, working on a singular goal. So a lot of times when I jump into these spaces, I've heard this countless times. People telling me, the most amount of money that I lose in crypto happens between the hours of 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I'm not saying that there's not a solid project that's going to launch at that time. I've even seen projects that have launched at that time. I've also fallen victim to the staying up all night, not wanting to sleep on my bag stuff. The anxiety will get to you if you're in heavy on a trade late at night, okay? So there's things we can do that'll make it to where, hey, you have a little more peace of mind. Of course, if we're in a project that we have conviction in, a project that we want to be a part of, and it's still kind of a little volatile, and you think, okay, I want to believe in this, but it may still tank on me, be willing, even if you're at profits, to either, if you can take your initials out, that's a great call. If you don't want to take your initials out, you can put a limit order in that's, maybe 10 to 20% below where the current price is, so that if it does drop at that time while you're sleeping, it's going to drop. It's going to pull out, maybe you set it for 50%. It's going to pull out half of your bag, and then the other half of your bag's still going to be in there in case it moons. That's great. And when you wake up in the morning, say you still want to be a part of the project, oh, it's hit my stop loss, it pulled out half my bag, you can immediately put that bag back in. And not only can you put that bag back in, but you might have a more solid entry point too. That's a good way to help help ease the mind. Not all coins are going to do that for you, so you got to watch out which coins you get into. Some of these coins have these massive volume bots. I mean, as soon as you go to buy in at one point, it jumps 10k up. Every time you try to sell, it drops 10k down. Coins like that, if you really want to be a part of that, that's going to be a long hold project. That's not going to be a project you can use a limit order on, ladies and gentlemen. So just make sure that you're looking at that before you get in. If you have to test it, test it with a couple dollars or something, $4 or $5, set it up with the take profit at 10% above and see if it triggers. Okay. If it triggers, great. If it doesn't trigger, then that's a coin, that's a project that you're not going to be able to use these strategies on. And in order for you to sleep well at night, you're going to want to make sure that that's something that you want to be a part of for a long time. Let's go back and talk about ease of mind. So, when our mind is cloudy, our judgment's impaired, we're going to be making poor decisions. Okay. Again, ways to help clear the mind is you could do some kind of meditation practice. Where some of us are godly folks, you can pray about it. You can talk to your family about it. But the most important thing, I personally believe this, is to speak positive. Okay, you can have thoughts that are a little bit, not so good ways of thinking. Okay, but until you speak on it, it doesn't become real. And so what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is like a self-fulfilled prophecy. Okay, I know that I'm going to succeed. I know that in time I'm going to learn these tools and be able to use them in a way that's going to help my family prosper. All right, even if you go through a loss, you use that as a win. You say, okay, I learned a valuable lesson from this, and now I'm going to keep moving forward. Speak the goodness. If you speak the goodness, That goodness will continue to manifest in your life. It's going to continue to manifest in your trading. And that's again why I'm saying that a lot of this topic that we're talking about today works within and without crypto. You can do this in your trades, you can do this in your life. So another thing that's really important to understand, okay, is what happens when you got those tools, right? You start using them effectively, right? And now you're winning. Oh man, I just made 2x, 5x. I made a 10x on this trade. I'm feeling really, really good, okay? You're making these profits because you're doing what you need to be doing, all right? You have a strategy in place, you have an exit plan when you enter, and you're following that. And because you're following that strategy and it seems to be working for you, you're doing all right. Now, since you're doing all right, I just turned my 1 Solana into 10 Solana. Oh, whoa, that feels pretty nice, right? Now, let's talk about the mind again. You're starting to get just a little bit lax, just a little bit lazy. And these strategies that you know are working for you, you kind of let off. You say, okay, well, I just seen a 5x, but I don't think I want to take my initials out yet because I think it's going to go back to 10x, and now it tanks on me. And not only did I lose all of that profit, but now I'm in the red because I seen a strategy. I knew that it worked, but I got overly confident in my abilities. And it wasn't that your confidence was what messed you up in the end. It was the fact that you had a plan and you didn't stick to that plan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is important to understand and identify what your strategy is and how it's going to affect. You know, there's a strategy you can use where it comes to take profit and stop loss, but this strategy is more of a holistic strategy of eating right, proper exercise, and getting plenty of rest. Does anybody want to speak on that before we continue on?
I'll just mention that, like I remember, I don't know if it was a couple years ago, when I got sick. I got sick, and when you get sick, you usually don't want to eat. You don't want to eat anything, and so you can go for a long time without eating. So I think I went, like 3 days without eating, and of course after that I felt a lot better. But not only was I not better, I was over the sickness, but my head was clear. Like, I could think more clearly. It was, so it's so, um, so what, people practice that. They call it fasting. People would fast, and you mentioned meditation earlier. Um, so like fasting is like this. You just stop eating, and your body like resets itself. You know, and so whatever's going on in your body, your body clears it out or eats it up. Uses it for fuel, and so yeah, that's definitely something that that worked for me when I fasted. It definitely cleared my mind, and I was able to think more clearly and be focused a lot better.
Yeah, I can definitely understand the value behind self-care when you're doing crypto because it is very easy to get caught up um, in the fast-paced nature of trading with the charts. It's very easy to get attached to a project and attached to a team where you're putting hours in and losing sleep and trying to make sure you are seeing everything, and you can't possibly see everything. That's the value behind stick with the plan. It's important to develop a strategy that works for you, to know that you have those strategies in place. For example, you have your stop losses in place that you know when they are going to the limit that you are willing to lose. You have your take profits in place. That way, if the chart goes up while you're sleeping, you're not going to miss it. You put these tools in place to be able to to basically watch your investment for you so you don't feel like you have to have your eyes on the chart at all times. I personally have lost a lot of sleep and put in way too much work at times, and I'm just now starting to appreciate respecting the balance and remembering priorities for family, and everybody should remember that. You can really get swept up in this game very easily. You got to remember, home comes first, family comes first, and if you need to take a step away, those people in your lives that see you face to face every day are the ones that matter and the ones that need your energy there, focused on them. And everything else on the internet is just for gambling and for making sound decisions and not risking those things that you do hold value at home, because it can very easily get taken advantage. And I've heard stories of families being destroyed because people did not know how to create those boundaries within their life, their personal life, versus what they were doing in the crypto space. It's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you both for that. Yes, it's most definitely about finding that balance. I mean, I'm not. I'm sure I'm not just speaking for myself when I say that these trades, what happens to it, a lot of people, they put all these little pictures out there of them driving Bugattis and this and that, and they're thinking, about getting rich quick and all that kind of thing. But I think the majority of traders in the world today are thinking of their family when they're making these trades. They're thinking about, how can I, oh man, I can get my son, this thing, or I can do this for my sister who really needs some help right now, or you know you are definitely investing love into the decisions you're making, even when you're making them on the internet. But most definitely, healthy boundaries are so important, are crucial to maintaining that healthy family lifestyle. You're thinking in one aspect, okay, well, I'm making these trades so I can take care of my family. At the same time, you're not realizing that in some ways I'm depriving my family of this solid connection, and they're looking at me and they're saying, oh, look, I need you right now. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there in a second. I'll be there in a second. So ease of mind. Of course, we don't want to beat ourselves up. We've all fallen the victim at times, but we're trying to empower one another and enriching your lifestyle and enabling yourself to have the best quality of life. And that is, I mean, I'd imagine a lot of the dream for why people get into crypto. Going back into, so that's kind of going off of what Moon was saying about, of course, having those boundaries, and let's find that balance together. That's so important. Yes. Also, going back into what his plan was saying about fasting, I also believe that fasting at times is very beneficial. I also think that when you do choose, if you want to fast, whether it's to get over a sickness or if it's in a prayerful way, through ceremony or something, that you do it lightheartedly. You know, you don't have a disgruntled face and say, "Oh, I'm so hungry right now," because it's, of course, a choice you're making. But when you do let all of that, whatever that, if you think it's toxicity, however you want to say what it is, out of you, and don't bring more in that's negative, that's a definitely a very good purging, cleansing, and that's something powerful that can come out of a fast. I'm not knocking fasting by any means. I'm just saying that when you, whether you're fasting or not fasting, if you're eating healthy, you're bringing goodness back into your body. You're taking that good and you're bringing it in, and if we're taking all of this that's not so good and we're bringing it in, that's what's going to come out as well. And so, our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are very powerful. Our thoughts come from our feelings. We have a feeling. Oh man, well, what was that feeling? And I'm thinking about the feeling that I just had. And then now, after that thought, now I'm speaking that thought into existence. But until I spoke that thought, it was not in this world. It was just a thought, and we can have good thoughts, bad thoughts. We can have any kind of thoughts. But when we're speaking, and we speak mindfully and we use this power into our trades, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to see massive results. I mean, in just a week, less than a week, of doing this practice for myself, like I said, practice what you preach. I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. I've seen an enriched family lifestyle. I was able to take away time from the VC, take away time from the chat. And when I came back to it, some of the stuff that wasn't so good, somehow it was like it had been purged, it had been cleansed. And now we're ready to bring back in that which is good, that which is wholesome, that which is healthy, so that's kind of the first part of our spaces today. Another topic that I'd like to talk about, I'm going to open up the floor for his plan, to kind of bring us into it, is talking about, so what happens when you execute these strategies effectively? You take your initials out, or you watch what you're doing, and you maintain a balance. Sometimes, yeah, you want to shoot for that 50x or 100x, but that may not always happen. And there's a term that people use. They call it fear and greed. I was talking to another guy in one of the VCs, and I really liked how he talked about it, because I don't like either of those words personally. I don't like the word fear. I don't like speaking about fear. And I don't really care for the word greed. I don't like speaking about greed. I don't even think of myself as a greedy person, or any of my relatives, really. Just because we want to have good things for our family, that doesn't make you greedy. So why do we talk about fear and greed? So he talked about it as hype and hesitation. There's moments of hype and there's moments of hesitation. But as far as this educational spaces goes, we're kind of going to try to break into that a little more. So if I may, his plan, I don't mean to put you on the spot, brother, but I just want to open the floor for you if there's anything you'd like to speak about that.
Yeah, I know it's like a double-edged sword, when you're seeing that, when you're seeing that the chart go up, and something inside of you is saying like, take out this, take out your initials, take out, take out the whole bag, take out the money, and so you're fearful to do it, and you're thinking like, oh, it's gonna moon, I'm gonna miss something. It's always about, oh, I'm gonna miss out, I'm gonna miss out. Everyone thinks they're gonna miss out, so that's why they end up missing, totally missing out, you know. And yeah, I was a couple mornings ago. I was in something, and something was telling me to take it out, take it out, and I didn't listen, and it was just like a rug, like a super rug, like you never expected it. Everything looked clean, and it must have been a bunch of wallets that were just bundled, And I just was like, man, something told me to take it out, and I didn't listen. Um, but yeah, that's what I can share for now on that.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks a lot. I think part of what it comes down to is with that fear and greed, and it's not like this for everybody, and it's not like this for any one person all the time, but just generally speaking, I think that a lot of times that fear comes into play, where I want to see that go higher, or you can call it greed, where you're like, okay, I know that I've made $100 on this coin, but I can probably still make another $200 or $300 if I keep it in. I feel like a lot of that thought process comes from losing too much money and trying to make it back on this one big win. Okay, we had a gentleman here in the spaces not too long ago, and he was speaking. He spoke in a good way. He was speaking about leverage trading, and he was telling us, these high risk leverage trades, are where you're going to find yourself getting liquidated more times than not, because you're trying to gain this massive reward every single time. All right. If you are looking at this as a job, all right. If you're not looking at it as necessarily gambling, you want to see yourself bringing back to the bank $300, $500 at least a day. You start small and you work your way up. You find a strategy that works with you, and you use it. You put it to practice. If you go and you diversify your portfolio and you get 10 coins and you send the same strategy on all those coins, you're, as long as you did your own research and you found out that they were somewhat legitimate projects, maybe half of them you'll lose and half of them you'll win. And you think that's okay, that's a 50-50. No, it's not. That's a 60-20 because your stop loss is set lower than your take profit. So your take profit, every time that you take your profit, you're getting back more than what you would lose on those other 5 points, on those other 5 projects. And so, starting small and working your way up, you can feel a lot more comfortable being what people would say greedy and wanting to keep that investment inside of that project, thinking, okay, well, it's got a chance to rise, it's got a chance to go. If you practice this, Moon says it like a mantra, and I love her for that. Take your initials out. You can't always take your initials out. Sometimes you don't even get a 2x. You can't take your initials out. There's no way. But if you get an opportunity to take your initials out, you can do that, and now you don't have to worry. Now you don't have to be afraid. You don't even have to be greedy. You can just let it moon or dust, and it's not going to bother you at all. And if you do start seeing it go to dust and you wanted to pull it out, hey, that's your own prerogative. But whatever you do, once you find it and it works, stick with your plan. Don't start doing other funky stuff, because that's when you're going to find yourself getting lazy and you're going to lose everything that you worked so hard to gain. We want to give you guys the strongest, the sharpest tools available in crypto to work with. And so, forgive me for, speaking more of the metaphysical in this topic, but I do feel like it's very important to practice healthy lifestyle choices, maintaining those healthy boundaries within the household and within the crypto space, and finding that balance between eating, sleeping, exercising, fasting, prayers, meditation. All of that goes hand in hand with what we're doing here. And so, yeah, awesome stuff, guys. Let's see if we can keep it rolling. One
Yeah,
thing.
I was just
Go
thinking.
ahead.
No, I was just thinking. Like all my best trades was done in the morning. All my best trades was done in the morning. Maybe in the afternoon a little bit, but nothing at night really went well for me. Um, and I had a good. I probably had a good night's sleep. I usually go to the gym, in the morning. And sometimes I trade before I go in. Sometimes I trade after, or at least look at stuff. And I'm just more ready. You're just ready. I think that open our laptop or turn on our computer, or open up that Phantom wallet. Make sure that we're ready all around, and not be anxious for anything. Anxious for nothing.
Yeah, most definitely, bro. Most definitely, yeah, and yeah. I mean, I've heard countless testimonies of a very similar thing, and I can also relate to that as well. Some of the best trades that I've been in, I watched them. I was patient. I waited for a good solid entry, and when it came, I got in. And when I got in, I already had an exit strategy in place. And if it didn't work, and I still wanted in, I got in at a lower level. And then if it did work and I was able to take profits a little bit, then okay, well, awesome. I might put in a little more and I'll let it ride. But I want to use Kiefer Bunny for example. Okay, I know we're Dirty Jeetos and we love our community. We also support our other community-based projects. Okay, the only reason I'm using these guys for an example is not because I want to shill them, but it's just because I think it's a great example. Okay, I managed to get my initials out. Okay, I got into this project. I like to find projects that are pre-migration, getting close to migration, and I'll watch them. I'll watch them. Sometimes they rug before they migrate.
That's why you want to look at the socials. You want to look at the wallet holders. You want to look at the insider holdings percentage. There's different things you want to take into account. But sometimes when the hype is there, that hype and hesitation, that fear and greed, the hype hesitation, when the hype is there, you do want to get in. There's no problem with that. There's no problem with you getting in. You have all the information readily available. But the difference, and this is what his plan is talking about, and this is what I'm kind of also trying to mirror, is your readiness, is your adaptability to make those decisions swiftly and to have a strong base behind why you're making that decision. If you've been sitting and you've been watching that screen for 14, 16 hours and you're just, wiping the sweat off your brow and you just, got, your little mocos and your eyeballs and stuff, you know, you might think, man, this looks awesome, and just I'm gonna jump in right away, and then before you know it, you lose it, and you're like, well, it's all good, I'll make it up on the next one, and you lose again on the next one. The readiness that you have, your adaptability to create that powerful transformation of energy.
I mean, think about what's actually going into these Solana trades. Okay, if we're using fiat currency, where did that currency come from? For the majority of people, I don't think it was handed to them. They had to trade some sort of service. So what did they really trade? They traded their time. And that is the most valuable thing we have and to give in this world today is our time. So I again want to thank each and every one of you for your time here today, and just encourage you guys to think about what you're doing with your time when you're going into these trades. You can spend 1 to 2 hours a day in a trade after you ate a healthy meal, did a little bit of exercise, and make enough to last you for the whole week. Or you can spend 16, 17 hours a day chasing losses over and over and over again because you're looking at it and you're just trying to catch up on the next one. I'll just catch it back up on the next one, and that's one of the things that we really want to try to help each other in having that healthy, active. It's like when you're getting ready for a fight. I got into mixed martial arts when I was 14, and one of the things that my mom, she did not like it. She was not fond of me getting into what she considered a violent sport. But I was a troubled youth. I had just gotten out of a juvenile detention. I was having trouble in school and stuff like that. And the mixed martial arts really helped me, and I was able to bring that into my adult life. Even though I don't do any like bouts or anything like that, I'm able to give that to my children as well. And that level of discipline when you're getting ready for a fight, a lot of times you are fasting, a lot of times you are doing these things so that you have these proper reflexes. And when we're going into the trenches, especially in the world today, man, it's rugged in there. It's rugged, and there's a lot of rugs, and so you got to be ready to fight, ready to handle that, and those reflexes are going to come a lot more easily when you got that proper momentum. And that momentum comes again from having that increased heart rate, having that exercise, having that ease of anxiety, that ease of stress, and then also, of course, support. We support you guys. Anybody that has anything they want to say, and even as I'm speaking and I'm telling you guys, let's be positive and let's speak positively. If somebody needed to express a horror story or something, we're not going to knock on you and say, oh, no, no, you can't say that. It's not positive. We're not going to do that to you, because that's how you find your support. You find your support, you get it through it, and we help you get through it as well. I'm saying that as one person, but I do feel confident in saying that with our group, with our core team that we have here with Dirty Jeetos, we'll all help you with that. We will all help you with that. And, the more that we come together and the more that we share the space, the more things are going to happen. I think I heard somebody try to speak up. I apologize if I talked over you. The floor is yours.
I was just going to let you know that we are approaching the top of the hour, and I think that this has been a very productive conversation, but we do need to do our call to action before we have any closing statements that anyone wants to make. So again, at Dirty Jeeto, we're all about community. We're all about education. We'd like to encourage you to come over to our Telegram, participate, hang out in the VC if someone's there. If no one is there, we will be playing educational trading videos that you will get extreme value from. And we want to meet you. We want to talk to you. We want to let you see that we are there for the long term and that we plan on building a strong and healthy community to push forward. Grab a bag. Don't ever invest any more than you can afford to lose. Always take out your initials, de-risk, and trade responsibly. And so we hope to see you. We hope to meet you over at Dirty Cheeto in the TG. And if there's nothing else, you guys want to make any closing remarks, we'll close this down for the night, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to stay positive and just know that we're here for you. Thank you so much for your time. Go ahead, his plan.
All right, good night.
Awesome.
Oh, you want to say something?
All right, good night, you guys. No, I was going to say good night. You guys have a good one. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.